February 3rd, 2020. Monday of the fourth week in Ordinary Time.
A reading from the second book of Samuel. An informant came to David with the report, "The children of Israel have transferred their loyalty to Absalom." At this, David said to all his servants who were with him in Jerusalem, "Up, let us take flight, or none of us will escape from Absalom. Leave quickly, lest he hurry and overtake us, then visit disaster upon us and put the city to the sword." As David went up the Mount of Olives, he wept without ceasing. His head was covered, and he was walking barefoot. All those who were with him also had their heads covered, and were weeping as they went. As David was approaching Bahurim, a man named Shimei, the son of Zerah, of the same clan as Saul's family, was coming out of the place, cursing as he came. He threw stones at David and at all the king's officers, even though all the soldiers, including the royal guard, were on David's right and on his left. Shimei was saying as he cursed, "Away, away, you murderous and wicked man! The Lord has requited you for all the bloodshed in the family of Saul, in whose stead you became king, and the Lord has given over the kingdom to your son Absalom. And now you suffer ruin, because you are a murderer." Abishai, son of Zeruiah, said to the king, "Why should this dead dog curse my lord the king? Let me go over, please, and lop off his head." But the king replied, "What business is it of mine or of yours, sons of Zeruiah, that he curses? Suppose the Lord has told him to curse David. Who then will dare to say, 'Why are you doing this?'" Then the king said to Abishai and to all his servants, "If my own son, who came forth from my loins, is seeking my life, how much more might this Benjaminite do so? Let him alone, and let him curse, for the Lord has told him to. Perhaps the Lord will look upon my affliction and make it up to me with benefits for the curses he is uttering this day." David and his men continued on the road, while Shimei kept abreast of them on the hillside, all the while cursing and throwing stones and dirt as he went. The word of the Lord.
The responsorial psalm. The response is, "Lord, rise up and save me." O Lord, how many are my adversaries? Many rise up against me. Many are saying of me, "There is no salvation for him in God." Lord, rise up and save me. But you, O Lord, are my shield, my glory. You lift up my head. When I call out to the Lord, he answers me from his holy mountain. Lord, rise up and save me. When I lie down and sleep, I wake again, for the Lord sustains me. I fear not the myriads of people, arrayed against me on every side. Lord, rise up and save me.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus and his disciples came to the other side of the sea, to the territory of the Gerasenes. When he got out of the boat, at once a man from the tombs who had an unclean spirit met him. The man had been dwelling among the tombs, and no one could restrain him any longer, even with a chain. In fact, he had frequently been bound with shackles and chains, but the chains had been pulled apart by him and the shackles smashed, and no one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and on the hillsides, he was always crying out and bruising himself with stones. Catching sight of Jesus from a distance, he ran up and prostrated himself before him, crying out in a loud voice, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure you by God, do not torment me." He had been saying to him, "Unclean spirit, come out of the man." He asked him, "What is your name?" He replied, "Legion is my name. There are many of us." And he pleaded earnestly with him not to drive them away from that territory. Now, a large herd of swine was feeding there on the hillside, and they pleaded with him, "Send us into the swine, let us enter them." And he let them. And the unclean spirits came out and entered the swine. The herd of about 2,000 rushed down a steep bank into the sea where they were drowned. The swineherds ran away and reported the incident in the town and throughout the countryside. And people came out to see what had happened. As they approached Jesus, they caught sight of the man who had been possessed by Legion, sitting there clothed and in his right mind, and they were seized with fear. Those who witnessed the incident explained to them what had happened to the possessed man and to the swine. Then they began to beg him to leave their district. As he was getting into the boat, the man who had been possessed pleaded to remain with him. But Jesus would not permit him, but told him instead, "Go home to your family, and announce to them all that the Lord in his pity has done for you." Then the man went off and began to proclaim in the Decapolis what Jesus had done for him, and all were amazed. The Gospel of the Lord.
Miracles of Jesus. 1. Jesus turns water into wine at the wedding in Cana.
2. Jesus heals an official's son at Capernaum in Galilee.
3. Jesus drives out an evil spirit from the man in Capernaum.
4. Jesus heals Peter's mother-in-law sick with fever.
5. Jesus heals many sick and oppressed at evening.
6. First miraculous catch of fish on the lake of Gennesaret.
7. Jesus cleanses a man with leprosy.
8. Jesus heals a centurion's paralyzed servant in Capernaum.
9. Jesus heals a paralytic who was let down from the roof.
10. Jesus heals a man's withered hand on the Sabbath.
11. Jesus raises a widow's son from the dead in Nain.
12. Jesus calms a storm on the sea.
13. Jesus casts demons into a herd of pigs.
14. Jesus heals a woman in the crowd with an issue of blood.
15. Jesus raises Jairus' daughter back to life.
16. Jesus heals two blind men.
17. Jesus heals a man who was unable to speak.
18. Jesus heals an invalid at Bethesda.
19. Jesus feeds 5,000 plus women and children.
20. Jesus walks on water.
21. Jesus heals many sick in Gennesaret as they touch his garment.
22. Jesus heals a Gentile woman's demon-possessed daughter.
23. Jesus heals a deaf and dumb man.
24. Jesus feeds 4,000 plus women and children.
25. Jesus heals a blind man at Bethsaida.
26. Jesus heals a man born blind by spitting in his eyes.
27. Jesus heals a boy with an unclean spirit.
28. Miraculous temple tax in a fish's mouth.
29. Jesus heals a blind, mute demoniac.
30. Jesus heals a woman who had been crippled for 18 years.
31. Jesus heals a man with dropsy on the Sabbath.
32. Jesus cleanses 10 lepers on the way to Jerusalem.
33. Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead in Bethany.
34. Jesus restores sight to Bartimaeus in Jericho.
35. Jesus withers the fig tree on the road from Bethany.
36. Jesus heals a servant's severed ear while he is being arrested.
37. The second miraculous catch of fish at the Sea of Tiberias. 37 Miracles of Jesus. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.
This is Catholic Daily Reflections for Monday of the 4th week in Ordinary Time. Today's reflection is entitled Total Transformation. As they approached Jesus, they caught sight of the man who had been possessed by legion, sitting there clothed and in his right mind, and they were seized with fear. This short passage comes after a very dramatic story. A young man who lives out in the tombs is fully possessed by many demons. The demons identify themselves as legion, stating that there are many of them. It's clear from the story that this man is wild, out of his mind, and fully under the control of these demons. As the story goes on, Jesus addresses the demons, rebukes them, and casts them out, sending them into a herd of swine. The swine go running down a slope and drown in the lake. Afterwards, the man is totally transformed as he sits there conversing with others. One interesting thing to note in this story is that when the townspeople came out and saw this man sitting there in his right mind, they are shocked and are seized with fear. They do not know what to think about this situation. Why is that? Perhaps there are a number of reasons. Let's look at one of them. This young man was so dysfunctional, being possessed by a legion of demons, that the townspeople had written him off. They gave up on him and most likely wanted nothing to do with him. They were afraid of him. But when they see this man completely transformed, sitting there looking normal and rational, the people don't know what to think. They are shocked. And their shock takes on a form of fear in that they are afraid of what they do not understand. This reveals something interesting to us. It reveals that if we fail to understand the power of God, we will actually find ourselves fearful of His power when confronted by it. The townspeople should have been filled with great joy and excitement at the total transformation of this man. However, instead of great joy and excitement, they were fearful. They were fearful because they did not understand God's almighty power. Reflect today upon the power and glory of God. He desires to do great things and to bring total transformation to your life. He desires to cast out the evil one lurking within our world, bringing instead His mercy and peace. As you reflect upon God's power, allow yourself to more clearly understand Him. If you understand Him, you will be more fully ready to rejoice in His good works. Let us pray. Lord, I rejoice in your almighty power. I rejoice in your greatness and glory. Help me to see the many ways that you are at work in our world and in the lives of those around me. As I see your transforming power at work, fill my heart with gratitude for all that you do. Jesus, I trust in you.
To Jesus. surrender.